Hey, can I go to the bathroom? He's like, no. I'm like, oh, well, why is that? He's like, oh, well, someone's out, whatever. So, little did I know, around that time, the same hallway that I'd be walking down to use the restroom was the same hallway that the shooter came in and started to kill 17 people. So, needless to say, I feel that that word really, quite honestly, saved my life. There's no other way that I can really describe the importance of that word in my life, and the significance of how I feel when I think about that moment in time. I always think, and for a long time I used to call it survivor's remorse. I said, why me? Why did my teacher say no to me going to the bathroom? If I had asked a couple of minutes earlier, I would not be standing here talking to you today. And so, with that being the case, I really took it upon myself to think, how could I better my community going forward after this tragedy? Because I felt that, and hold on a second, put my timer on, I forgot to do that. There you go. I thought to myself, how could I better my community? And I said, well, we're already focusing on gun control. We're already focusing on constructive ways that people can live happier and healthy lives, but we're not focusing on giving students the tools themselves to be able to manage that for the rest of their lives. Because in the aftermath of the tragedy, the first thought was, okay, well, we're going to give these families these therapists, we're going to give them a whole bunch of Red Cross aid, and we're going to make sure that they're good after this. But it's like, no one, I don't know if any guys have been through traumatic experiences, but that lasts with you for a very long time. It's not just, oh, it happened, and then you're good. It's never like that. It's the consistent memory. It's the thought of, I went through this thing. And for a lot of people, it was, I lost my family members. I lost my brother. I lost my sister. I lost my friend. I lost my child. How are you supposed to just get over that? This is, for a lot of people, it was people that they grew up with, people that they raised. You can't just erase that and say, well, a bunch of Red Cross aid came and, even though Jimmy's gone, it's fine. It's not how that works. So, that comes to the topic of dealing with death. How do we deal with that? How do you deal with people who played such a tremendous impact on your life? How do you deal with their sudden disappearance? How do you do that? Anyone have any clues? I'm messing with you. But the way I figured you do that is you try to think going forward. You try to live for the people that have passed. You try to live and prevent those tragedies from the tragedies that happen to you from happening to other people. Because no one deserves to lose their child. No one deserves to lose their brother. I know that if I lost my sister, or if my sister's lost me, I wouldn't even know what to think about that. I couldn't even comprehend that thought, to be honest with you. So, with that being the case, I had to decide to stand for something. What was I going to stand for? I said, okay, at first it's going to be gun control, because that's the immediate issue. We have to make sure that we fix on the legislative level what was wrong, which was they can buy assault weapons at 18, but a handgun at 21. And I don't know if you think that that's ridiculous or not, or whether you did the time, but the fact is, to the students of Parkland, it was. And so when we got that fixed, we marched down to Tallahassee and we fixed that, petitioned our lawmakers, and really got them to understand and feel what we were going through, and understand what that tragedy truly felt like to us. Because, to a lot of politicians, and this is the sad truth, and it's been this case for about 100 plus years, it's just, they're representing their constituents. And to just the politicians, they're, just names on the ballot box. Names on a ballot that votes for them and make sure they can continuously, maintain a job and maintain a career. So there's this kind of sense of depersonalization for people that they represent over time, especially with, the longer they spend in office. And so we said, why? Why is that the case? You're representing the people, you're supposed to live and work and serve for the people, right? So that's exactly what we really tried to remind them of. We said, you have to do this. This is your job. You have to make sure that we're safe. No one else. If you're here for any reason, it's so that you can make sure that your community is happy, safe, and healthy. And I don't think anyone in this room should. So, with that being the case, after I saw that we could fix gun control, I didn't just say, well, I guess that's it, we got it done. That wasn't what I did. But what I decided to do was really, I wanted to give people the resources to be able to help themselves. Because I knew that we could fix as many laws as we wanted to. We could. But the fact the fact remains that you can change a law, but you can't change a heart by changing the law. Now that works. And I said, well, there's going to be a new law regarding speeding tickets. If you got one yesterday, the day before the law passed, you're not going to say, oh, well, I guess my speeding ticket's gone. No, it's not how it works. So ultimately, I wanted people to be able to live happier and healthy lives. And the way that I did that was I decided, okay, I've got to acquire these mental health breakthroughs. And how did I arrive at that decision? Well, I was lucky enough to be raised in a family that believed in that last tenet on this page right here, which is creating a vision. You make sure that you have a goal in mind for what it is that you want to do. And you build that framework to the best of your ability. And so after months and months and months and months of thinking, I came up with exactly nothing. But I was always the kind of person who was very, and dare I say, headstrong. Because I remember that I sat in, this is probably about within a couple of months after the tragedy. I said to my friend Marcelo, I'm sitting in study hall or whatever, and I don't know how I got to this topic of conversation because it's not like it's just a regular thing you say to people. I said, Marcelo, I am going to start a company that's going to change the lives of the members of my community. I'm going to make sure I do that. You know what? We're going to be known across the country. We're going to be featured in tons of magazines. It's going to be great. And he says to me, good luck. And so, after about a year of work, I did that. And, Marcelo was certainly surprised. But, it's all good. So, what I really want, because a lot of people don't really understand the magnitude of what happened in Parkland. I know you guys do because you guys are Florida natives, or Florida residents at least. But when I went to California, it was all like, I said, oh, I'm from Parkland. They're like, what's that? And I'm like, whoa, because I went through, the whole experience of, us being nationally recognized, how globally recognized. We had a march down in Washington, and we had a march in France and Germany, and all these different countries across the world. And here I come to Berkeley, and they're like, whoa, what's that? So it was definitely something, that was a shock to me. It was, it put a lot of things in perspective. But I just want to play that next video coming up so that you guys can be reminded of how it affected us.
Warning, some of these images might be disturbing.
At 2 in the afternoon, gunshots ring out in this South Florida high school. Terrified students hiding in classrooms during the gunman's rampage. The shooter reportedly first pulled a fire alarm to get more students out of the classroom, maximizing potential victims. Students in this classroom waiting in horror for help to arrive. Another SWAT team enters this auditorium. In this classroom, screams of anguish as police lead students to safety.
it's always tough for me to remember that. But, you know, now I want to get into the topic of acknowledging the voice, right? And what that
Movement isn't just.
All right, I'm going to talk a little bit first, and then we're going to get into the video. Apologize. So, you know, in the immediate aftermath of the shooting, and when I say immediate, I mean like a couple of months after, because you know it was a whirlwind for me. So everything was kind of you know right after and immediate. But there were some tensions that arose, and there were people felt, hey, why is it that it's just this one group of students speaking for me? I have opinions on what's going on. I feel like I have a right to be heard, right? And so we decided, hey, me and a bunch of friends decided, hey, we're students of color. Why, and this is why are we letting a bunch of group of white kids talk about, gun violence in America when communities of color have been dealing with it for, about as long as I can remember. If anyone deserved a seat at the table, I figured it was black and brown communities. And so that's what I really worked very hard to achieve. And so one of the ways that we did this was we partnered with the Brady campaign, and I had been doing work with them, since like about a couple weeks after we went down to Tallahassee, right? And so they came up with the bright idea to say, hey, if you guys want to do a roundtable with March for Our Lives and a bunch of other students from black and brown communities in Miami-Dade and things like that, we'll support it, we'll fund it, we'll get you a room, and we'll make sure that your that environment's facilitated. So we did that, and we really realized that not even us, black Parkland students, we didn't have any real experience with gun violence. Obviously, we did, but we didn't do it every day. We weren't in the hood, dealing with our friends dying as a result of gang violence every single day, losing relatives, losing friends, and growing up with that reality. That wasn't our life. We lived in the suburbs, quite honestly. And so I'm gonna let this video play here.
Movement isn't just a Parkland movement. It isn't just a Florida movement. It's a national movement. It's something that even goes beyond the borders of our nation, to be quite frank with us. It's something that touches the fabric of humanity as a whole. For someone that's growing up in a community of color where violence is ever present, you leave your house, your friends are dying, you go to school, you walk home, someone's dying. That deal with death on the mass scale every single day, that's something that demoralizes people. And they feel like since they're so afflicted by this problem, they feel like they lose their voice. I think what's so important about this movement is that since we're inviting all these other people, and since we feel like we shouldn't have had to be the one that started this, but we did anyway, we're giving them their voice, the voice that they deserved. This is something that we can't really truly give them because it was already there. We're just showing them that they had it in the first place.
As you can tell, I was a much younger man in that video. But on to that previous slide that talks about some of the other points that I covered. Back it up. All right. So one of the solutions that Parkland students, native Parkland, is like, hey, since we're going through this, this gun violence related issue, it makes more sense to put more police on campus. And the black and brown students in the neighborhood are like, whoa, whoa, whoa! I don't know if that's a great idea. Because, honestly, to us, it didn't make any sense. But I can understand the logic behind that because you want to feel safe. You want to feel like you have a united front behind you. You want to feel like your community is rallying behind you in 100% total support. But for a while, we had an increased population in Stoneman Douglas, increased police population, and it wasn't very helpful. In fact, it struck fear in a lot of the students, particularly black and brown students. And a lot more people got arrested for miscellaneous things. So it wasn't as if it was this cure-all or what the intention was right, but the action was incorrect. So it was really a time where we had to seek outside help to solve our own issues because we couldn't sit there and think for a second that, we can fix an age-old problem with, the experience and the thoughts we were having after this one experience. We had to look towards other people who had gone through this circumstance, who had healed from it, become stronger people, and lived and strengthened their communities as a whole. So it was a learning curve, but I think we did the very best that we could, and we're still doing the very best we can. So, when it comes to the topic of intersectionality, you talk a lot about how, and this is very true in terms of the the round table and the negotiations and the kinds of protections you should place in the aftermath of this tragedy for the students at Stoneman Douglas. You say, okay, well, we need more police, and the black and brown students say, oh my God, well, we have an issue with that because police have a history of harassing black and brown people. So then you have this issue of, okay, well, how do you balance those two realities? And how do you make sure that everyone's comfortable no matter what? And so that's where intersectionality really came in. And so now we're going to move on to the topic of mental health. Okay, so the one thing that isn't very divisive when it comes to putting a kind of protection on the students as far as how they deal with just everyday stress and live their everyday lives. They're not necessarily going through tragedy and trauma 100% of the time, but this does work for that as well, is providing them with social emotional learning skills, making sure they understand emotional freedom techniques, and just making sure they understand that they need to take time for themselves to breathe. Everything is a deep breath right now, too. But yeah, and so one thing that I've noticed a lot of students really struggle with, and American culture doesn't facilitate the topic of conversation about this, is depression. Everyone has this idea of what they want themselves to be and who they're supposed to be in the world that they live in. Everyone has these, I have to be the best at everything that I do no matter what. No matter who else is competing with me, I have to be better than them. I have to do whatever I can. But the reality is, the only person you really have to be good for or be best for is yourself. Because you're not in a race with everyone else. You can try to run faster than Usain Bolt, but I guarantee you he's been practicing for a while. For those of you guys who don't know, he's one big runner. But yeah, and social media really hasn't helped with a lot of the depression that students my age and students across the country really experience, because it only just reinforces that image of everyone else is having fun except for me. Why is my life like this when Sally's going skydiving? Tom's God, he's skiing down the Swiss Alps. And I'm sitting here doing my calculus homework. But little do you know, Tom skied down the Swiss Alps 6 years ago, and Sally skydove 6 months ago. So, more often than not, everyone's sitting down doing their homework, living exactly the same boring life, but they're still sitting there, they're still sitting there saying, my life is great, it's better than yours, you should pay attention. And so, I really believe that, social emotional learning techniques and mindfulness techniques really help people ground themselves back in reality. If you can take a second to breathe and to think about what life really is, you're not so absorbed in what everyone else is projecting and saying what life is. Because that's not real. And it brings up this concept of, living in the gram. And for those of you guys who are, for those of you guys who are the more mature audience, the gram refers to this word right here, Instagram. So, the idea of living in the gram is, no matter whatever it is I'm doing, I have to document it, because the world has to see it. I have to live in this space. A space that doesn't exist. A space that Mark Zuckerberg really kind of passively invented, through Facebook and then buying Instagram later, but, I won't talk about that. That's another topic, another day. Hopefully a birthday. but yeah, it's people no longer feel comfortable, or they're no longer in tune with living in reality, because everything is all about projecting this idea of a perfect life, of I'm doing better than everyone else, and that's just not the case. And so when we talk about how that reinforces depression, I really think it's because people are not provided with adequate resources to be able to ground themselves and think positively no matter how they feel about what's going on in their life. Because social media has this way, especially if you're that one not so rich person in that very rich community, you might feel, oh my God, I have no money. I don't know what's going on. I can't afford to go vacation to the French Riviera on my yacht. Oh my God, what's going on? And they start asking your parents questions. Listen, can I have an S class for Christmas? I know it's expensive. We'll take a second look at that. It's okay. And so when you have to face your own reality and you realize that you're not living the same life as the same person who, or your neighbor who's dead as a hedgie, you're like, all right, I guess I can do this. But ultimately, people shouldn't have to think that way. They shouldn't have to say that, I have to live a life that's equal to or greater than my neighbors. Because that's unrealistic. No one in this room is exactly the same. And if that was the case, it'd be pretty boring. I wouldn't have to get to know any of you because I'd know exactly what you're doing. To be honest. So, providing them with adequate resources to really just be able to live and feel comfortable in their own skin and not worry about what anybody else is doing is really what I went for. Because people have this sense of, and once again, social media creates a sense of ostracization. It makes people feel alienated from the rest of the world that they're living in. And so what that really does is it passively creates this sense of, quasi-normality. It's like what I'm seeing on Instagram is normal. What I'm seeing that everyone else is having fun except for me is a normal reality. It's not the case, because I guarantee you most of those people are doing the same thing that you're doing, and they're saying, oh my God, Jim, I can't believe it. They're going over in and out, back and forth with themselves. So, without any further ado, I'm going to go to the next slide. And as you mentioned before, yes, I'm pointing at you. It's the second leading cause of death for people 10 to 34. So it's not just kids, it's really just anyone who's above 10 at this point and is ultimately late. So that's something you have to really consider. Suicide is, for young people, to me, the idea that it's a second leading cause of death is ridiculous. Because you shouldn't have people who don't have to pay any bills, don't have to worry about paying for college, no student loans, nothing. They're sitting here worrying about how everyone else is doing it, how they're doing, this idea of less than everyone else. And it creates, depression. It reinforces a negative, it reinforces what I like to call a negative self-talk. It makes them feel like, they're passively tearing themselves down with every moment of the day because they don't understand that no one lives that life that everyone else is doing. Next. And so, suicide rates have increased, and those are the three leading causes. You have school, that's academics, that's grades, it's getting into the best universities. Everyone is in this rat race to say, I have to go to Harvard. I have to go here. I have to do this. This is the place for me. And so, if you're anything close to disappointed with any other adverse reality, it can be really demoralizing, especially when you worked very hard to be at the top of your class, or you're competing with everyone else in your school. It's like, oh my God, I didn't get into Harvard, I didn't get into Stanford. What am I gonna do? But the truth is that's not all there is to life. It isn't. It's probably in the grand scheme of things, that probably matters about this much. And I don't know if you can see that. But it's not very large. So, people, even though they're facing, especially high school students, this this disappointment with, potential excitement with, getting into some of the best schools, or not getting into some of the best schools, they're still nonetheless projecting this feeling of cyber self-esteem. They're faking happiness, because American society tells everyone, and it's a saying that's been around since God knows how long, fake it till you make it, because one day you will. And that's not even system anymore. Because if you're seeing, if everyone is faking it, then that means nothing is real. Honestly. So you have to ground yourself in reality, and you have to be comfortable in your own skin, because if you're not doing that, then you're not living in a world that's right for you. It's just the case. But in terms, again, of the impact of suicide and rates increasing, a lot of people, especially transitioning from adolescence through adulthood, are going through an identity crisis because their family might be rejecting them due to their sexuality or their sexual identity, and that's something we have to work on too. And giving those people the sense of empowerment they need to carry on properly throughout, not only American society, but our global community. Move on to the next one. All right, so this is a good one. This is a good one. This one is called the emotional freedom technique. And so basically, I'm going to have you, say what she's going to say, and you're going to do the tapping that she does. And I swear to God, if you're feeling anything else but absolutely ecstatic right now, you will see a change in your overall mental state. So with that, we're going to keep going.
Practice for a minute with me, tapping on the outside edge of your left hand. And you're going to repeat after me now. Even though I feel stressed out and overwhelmed, I deeply and completely accept who I am and how I feel. Even though I feel stressed out and overwhelmed, I deeply and completely accept who I am and how I feel. Even though I feel stressed out and overwhelmed with all I have on, I deeply and completely accept who I am and how I feel. Take the hand you've been tapping on, 2 fingers, and tap on the beginning of either eyebrow. We're going to shorten what we've just been saying. I'm stressed out and overwhelmed. Tapping on the side of the eye, where the bone curves around. I've got so much going on. Tapping underneath the eye and the bone there. I'm being bombarded with stuff. Tapping on the top bit. And it's really stressing me out. Tapping on the chin. I've got so much on my plate right now. Tapping on the fist and tapping on the V. I can't see what to do next. Tapping under the arm. I can't think clearly. Tapping on your head. I've got so much going on in my life. So once you've done a couple of rounds of negative tapping, you then do a round of positive tapping. So keep that with me. Tapping on the eyebrow. I choose to relax now. Under the eye. I choose to feel calmer now. Under the eye. I choose to surrender now. Top bit. I choose to relax now. I choose to find some space. I choose to surrender now. Under the arm. I choose to find peace. On the legs. I choose to relax. Close my eyes, taking a really nice deep breath in. And release. And sense how you feel now.
Better.
Someone's not ready, yeah? All right. So, show of hands, you're feeling better. All right. That's what I like to see. Cool. So, the reason why that works for a lot of people is because it comes from Chinese medicine. What you're doing is you're tapping on your meridian lines. And for those of you guys that don't know what that is, I'm not here to explain that to you. And it's there's along with marijuana, but that's just for the other day. Once again, I can talk about that. But yeah, the U.S. government is like, hey, we have this, this big problem with mental health, especially, people coming back from wars, Iraq, Afghanistan, and even people who are, still dealing with the backlash of Vietnam. How do we treat those people? How do we give them, the resources they need to continue living happy and healthy lives? Because the fact remains that not everyone can afford to consistently see a therapist. And you're not providing people with, the interior strength and ability they need to continuously live happy and healthy lives by doing that, because if they're seeking, outside help continuously, they're never going to gain the skills to have inside help, to be able to say, I can build my own house, so to speak. And that's very important, being a person or a man or a woman in the world, especially in American society. We're a very go-get-em culture. And if you can't get up and go get them because, you've gone through a traumatic experience and no one taught you how to come back from, you can't compete. You can't be in this world. So I feel that this is, it's almost as important, or, really as important as breathing. Because if no one taught you how to breathe, I can guarantee you can't be, running in the Olympics. Probably not a good idea. But I'm going to move on to the next slide. So, this is where breathing is important. Trust me, it's very important.
Let's do it together.
So just follow this video and breathe in. It's about, 1 second. So, I really like Calm, not only because they help me out in providing resources to people in my community. Months after the tragedy, they gave away 3,300 subscriptions to some of the Douglas students. So I always think of them as people who always had my back from day one. Because giving away the equivalent of 200 grand to an 18-year-old that doesn't have a PhD. It's not something everyone's willing to do, So it was really something that helped me along my journey, and it's important to breathe. They provide excellent resources, and I really just love them as an organization. So I'm not going to say that was like a shout out to Calm, but next slide. To think of the person that embodies all of these ideals, all these 6 tenets of success, as being yourself, your doppelganger. You can physically look at this person and say, that person is everything that I want to become, is everything that I want to be. And I'll picture that person behind a door at the end of a hallway. A very nice hallway, the most luxurious hallway you can possibly imagine. What I want you to do, when I count to 3, I want you to walk up to the door, open that door, and sit down next to your doppelganger. And really feel and imagine what it is they look like, what they're doing, the kind of energy they're giving off. So 1, 2, 3, walk through that door. Once again, really feel the energy this person is giving off. And who is that person? It's you. Remember that. Take complete and total notice of even the things that they're wearing, the kind of clothes that you want to have, because at this particular point in time, you're embodying and you're imagining the best possible version of yourself, the person that has reached the penultimate point of success in your life. This version of you has climbed mountains, metaphorically for it, and has really made the kind of change and had the kind of impact on the lives of people that you want to impact, and has really accomplished all the things that you want to accomplish. If you want to be a master painter, this person is master painting 10 times over, trust me. If you wanted to resolve some relationships with your family members, this person has done that. If you wanted to have a happy relationship with your partners, this person has done that. Everything that you want, this person has done. But don't remove yourself from the idea that this person is you. All right, so I want you guys to come back to me. And I'm gonna pick a random person. I want you guys to tell me what you saw. All right? So let's start with Diane. What do you see?
I saw somebody that, I hate to say it, but almost like a general. Like somebody who seems to just be so well-rounded, balanced, and happy, and all kinds of family, and still having to work, and all that.
Okay. I didn't get your name.
Scott.
Scott, what do you see?
George Clooney-esque. Big hair. And really kind of a similar male version of what I just described. Just comfortable in one's own skin, feeling content, and still very passionate about positive.
Okay. I love it. So, I believe there's one more exercise in here. I don't know, that includes a bunch of them. So, you've seen that lady before, trust me. So what I want you guys to do now is transform from your inner critic to your inner coach. Because what a lot of people do when they, have a goal that they want, I'm guilty of this too, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm not. When you have a goal that, or an opportunity that seems too far, ahead of you, or something that you've never done before, something that's, oh my God, how am I going to do it? People say, well, they go through the fact that they're angry. Why do I have to do this? Why? Why me of all people? Couldn't they pick someone else? All right? And they say, oh, well, they start to think about it. And they get to the root of, oh, no, I'm really afraid. What if I mess it up? What if I don't do what I want to do, or do as well as I want to do with this opportunity? Trust me, I've been through that. But then they start to make the question themselves and start to say, hey, if I do this, if I just take this one step at a time, I can accomplish this task. I can be the captain of my soul, the master of my destiny. If I take just these few simple steps, if you've ever heard, one of those songs from the 90s, there's a 12 play for it, trust me. Trust me, there is. But then, once they realize those steps are just all they have to take, they begin to love themselves, and they begin to really just understand that they can accomplish anything they want, and they find truth in an old cliche, which is, I can accomplish anything I set my mind to. Because that's a fact. But the thing is, there's another half to that statement, which is you can accomplish anything you set your mind to, provided we follow these 4 steps. So, essentially, what I want you to do is think of something that you want to do. Something that you've had doubts about, that you're not completely sure you can accomplish. Keep these four tenets in mind. And I want you guys to kind of tap on that, to think about the kind of things that you want to say to your own mantra. You saw that lady with the tapping exercise talk about, go through a series of negative tapping of, oh, I can't do this, I don't know how I'm going to do it, etc. Now I want you guys to kind of think about that and do this and say, oh my God, I'm so upset that I have this opportunity. how am I gonna do it? I think I can. And it's working, but I think I can. Okay? Then I want you to go from that state of mind to, I'm really afraid of messing up, but I still think I can. And then say, I can do it, but I have to follow these steps to do what I want to do. And then say, the fourth and final tenet of this exercise, you're gonna resolve yourself to thinking, no matter what happens, I'm gonna do well, and I'm going to love myself regardless of the outcome. So, I wasn't kidding. We're gonna bring up that lady again and do some tapping. And trust me, you're gonna find your own mantra, because I'm not gonna give you one, because this is your own personal, these are your own personal goals, your own personal experience. But we're gonna turn off the sound for this one.
Practice for a minute
but I
with
want you
me,
guys to-
tapping on the outside edge of your.
So I want you guys to be able to think for yourselves and think of something that really empowers you. So take a couple seconds to do that. Just think empowerment. Go from the state of fear, anger, request, and love. Again, we're going from fear to anger, request to love. It always ends in love. You know why? Because we are supreme beings. Trust me, you may not believe it all the time, but we are. We can accomplish anything we set our minds to, provided all these perfect. But it's really the truth. It really is. So I'm going to give you guys 30 more seconds to tap. And I know, trust me, it's something you don't do every day. And I feel like part of the reason why it works so well is because it takes people out of their traditional frame of mind. That's what you're talking about.
Very good, thanks.
So, I want you to say this. I want you to say that we stand together till the end.